Which teams are we talking about here?
Let's start at the top, and I have the Giants, and I'd like to throw a question back to you guys, which is, if there was a dispersal draft of the players on the Giants roster right now, and I had the first pick and I took Logan Webb, who would you take with the second pick?
Oh, man, that's a
tough one. That's the challenge
That's the challenge they face. It's not like they're sitting with some obvious other great players, and we're well into an administration of Farhan Zaidi here. They brought in Bob Melvin to try to change the narrative a little bit. But whoever the GM and the manager is, you need better players. They tried like heck last year. They offered over $300 million to Aaron Judge. They offered over $300 million to Carlos Correa. They got neither. And they have evergreen payroll. The highest paid player on the team, as you just saw there, is Hanukkah. The only guy they have signed in 2026 right now is Webb, and it's on one of the lower, not a big contract because they signed them ahead of time. They have a lot of money to spend. Is anybody going to take their money this offseason? If not, what's the implications moving forward? It already cost Gabe Kapler his job.
So, Joel, this is the point I was making the other day. I was saying they don't have a big star name. But they could also take, if you had $300 million on your budget, you can go out and get a pretty good team put together.
But they've tried that, with Haniger and Conforto and DeSclafani and Cobb. They need some aircraft carriers there.
Yeah, they got to
doesn't appear to be coming from their farm system. Again, Logan Webb stands out. Is the kid Harrison, who pitched late last season, is he ready to step up and be a big pitcher for them?
That's your next name, probably.
But in a division with the Dodgers, you're going to have great players. That team, by the end of the winter meetings, might have Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be interesting? Let's move on. Give me another team that is faced with the most pressure to deliver stars.
So I have the Cubs number 2. I think you tip your hand. Once you give a 5-year, $40 million contract to Craig Counsell, you're saying we're pushing money in. You don't give that kind of money to a manager unless you're trying to win. They've bulked up their farm system enough that if they want to try to make some trades, they can. They're in an interesting spot. They missed the postseason last year by 1 game. They won 1 fewer game than the Diamondbacks, who won the NL pennant. But their maybe best everyday player, Bellinger, is a free agent. An important starter, especially in the first half, Marcus Stroman, is a free agent. They have work to do to replace these players and more. The NL Central is at an interesting moment. We did the Brewers in the opening segment. They're getting younger. Are they taking a step down? Can the Cardinals come back up? The Reds are trying to refortify after a pretty good 2023 season. That division is getting better. Can the Cubs get much better and get back to the top of it? They've only made the playoffs 1 time in a 162-game season since, I think it's 2018 or so.
Yeah, but I think they're closer, Joel, than most people think. If you like, to your point with the Giants, who would you take next? I think there's 4 players right there.
Yeah, no, they have a better group to start with, but it's not a complete group.
No, I agree.
Again, once you do Counsell, you're saying we are all in. They're a team you hear a lot with Ohtani also. Ohtani, unless there's some timeshare, is only going to 1 team. And there's going to be a lot of frustration in the landscape every place else. And then a lot of money to spend for all the teams who didn't do it on Ohtani. What do they do with their money if they are not the Ohtani team?
Cubs travel to Milwaukee to play the Brewers at the end of May. That will be a fascinating 4-game series for many reasons. Let's move on. Who is next on your list of teams that need to deliver star power?
So I won't be too provincial, but I have the Yankees at number 3. Their fans think they should be number 1 at everything. I'm not making them number 1 at this. Look, they didn't make the playoffs for the first time since 2016 this year. It was as bad a year as they've had since 1992. They promised big changes, and so far they've delivered almost nothing on that. What they've suggested is changes feels like, you're changing shoelaces on your shoes. It's not big stuff yet. So really the only way they could change the narrative is if they bring in big players, and they're being associated with Soto in trades, Yamamoto and Bellinger in free agency. You can't promise them Paris and give them Poughkeepsie. They better get somebody.
If I'm a Yankee fan, I am really hesitant to completely endorse the big check that Bellinger's going to get there. They got to go get Soto, man. They've got to get Soto. And I don't know if the agent for Yamamoto is going to be so thrilled. The price of poker went up after some of the rhetoric we learned of last week between the two sides. This is going to be fascinating to deliver which star goes to New York, because somebody's going there. Let's move on your list. No discussion of the Yankees is complete without mentioning the Hatfields to their McCoys, the Red Sox.
Yeah, I think the Red Sox are one of the most fascinating teams in the sport when you think about it. In the last 14 seasons, they've missed the playoffs 9 times. They finished last 6, including the last 2 years. And by the way, they've won 2 World Series in that period. They kind of either win the World Series or really infuriate all of New England. And they're another team that they began to build, Cassis, Duran to go around Devers, but Bayo is in the rotation, but they need starting pitching. You're seeing Greg Preslow here on the screen. He's the new head of baseball operations, replacing Hein Bloom, who lost his job but probably left a pretty good farm system there if they'd like to use it. There again, if you talk to a lot of baseball people, I've been shocked at how many of them mention the Red Sox with Ohtani. I kind of think Ohtani and his agency are keeping this very closed-lipped. My suspicion is it will be at least a team that trains in Arizona, if not plays on the West Coast. But who knows? It's a mystery. Can they reverse Babe Ruth about 110 years later and bring in the great two-way player?
Now there's only one more! There is only one more!
One more team that needs to deliver star power this offseason. Who is it?
I think it's the other way with star power, and you mentioned it. It's the Padres. What do they have to do? We kind of all sat around and were amazed, and many cheered at all the building up they did with their payroll. And now the likelihood is they have to cut about $50 million this offseason. That is not going to be easy to do. You see some of the longer-term deals on here, like Bogarts, Machado, Darvish, even maybe Tatis Jr. Those are harder to move. So it really comes down to Soto's going to make about $30 million, a bit more than that likely in 2024, and he could bring you back some pieces, especially starting pitchers. They have 3 starting pitchers who are free agents. Nick Martinez, who was a swingman for them, signed with the Reds yesterday, another pitcher that they're going to lose in all this. So if they want to continue to try to be good next year, if they really have to cut this kind of payroll, it comes up to A.J. Preller, who gave up a haul to get Soto. How much of a haul can he get back when Soto is going to be a free agent next offseason?
Soto's important. Here's my last thing on this, too, Joel. I want to circle back to the Yankees because everybody keeps saying the Yankees got to get Soto. And I agree. But what do they have to give the Padres? They're not just going to say, oh, you need him, here he is. They got to give something up to get him. And there's so many other teams that have minor league prospects. The Red Sox have loaded with prospects that could go to San Diego and get Soto.
Look, again, let's go back on the list. Who's the second best player on the Giants? I don't know. Juan Soto becomes their best player if he goes there. The Cubs are losing Bellinger. They have plenty of prospects. How would Juan Soto look there? The Yankees, as you mentioned, the Red Sox. We have a lot of desperate teams here. Can the Padres play the desperate? Once Ohtani signs someplace, once Bellinger perhaps signs someplace, can the Padres sit there and go, hey, if you want a difference maker, we got the difference maker. There's still 5 or 6 of you out there who have promised your fan base big things. We've got Juan Soto, one of the best hitters age 25 and younger in the history of the sport.